A leader that has some humility is able to realize that they're only as good as the people that they surround themselves with. And that when they surround themselves with other people that bring different experiences and backgrounds and talents and skills, that makes the team and therefore the leader better is after. We're not looking for safety. We're looking to build something. We're looking to do great things. And in order to do that, you have to get outside of your comfort zone. Welcome to the S Factor. I'm Allan Draper. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor enthusiast. And my S Factor is being tenacious, especially with entrepreneurs. It's required in order to succeed. And the way to do that is to have a very clear vision of the type of person that you want to become.
Hello, Allan. Welcome to the S Factor. How are you today?
Doing great. Appreciate you having me on. I'm very excited.
Same. There are a couple of different things we're going to be talking about today. One is obviously we're going to be talking about Proof, the company you co-founded. And the other, we are going to be talking about your expertise with startups and your experience with startups and all that. So before that, let's go back to the early days. I think you co-founded Proof back in 2014, and you saw the first revenues in 2015, right? Mm-hmm. So tell us about those early days, please.
Yeah, so starting a company is such an interesting process. And it's funny because I look back on the early days and I get kind of like butterflies. Because when you first start a company, it feels like all you want is to get to revenue, get to this point where you feel like you've made it, get to this point where you have employees and you have options. And for me, because I'm so focused on the startup process, and that's really where a lot of my strengths lie, I yearn for those days. I like the excitement of early entrepreneurs that they're excited to kind of change the world. And the other day I posted on my Twitter something like, I think it's a lot cooler to hear young entrepreneurs say, hey, we're going to change the world together. We're going to do some really amazing things, than to hear people that have already done it say those same things. And I think it's because when you start a business, you don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. And I think that's one of the greatest aspects of being an entrepreneur. But, kind of turning the clock back a little bit to 2014, I was practicing law in Phoenix and working on this pest control company, which was my first startup. And, I was in a very stable job. I was making good money. I had young kids. And our first branch of Proof was in Detroit, Michigan. So I went through this process of telling people, hey, yeah, I'm going to, quit my successful law career, and I'm going to move my family from Phoenix to Detroit and start a pest control company. And I'm basically going to be a bug guy. And I think it's really funny because of the looks that I got. And I think entrepreneurs get that quite a bit, where it's like, hey, I have big dreams and nothing's going to stop me, not even a stable job. And it was just kind of cool going through that process. I had quite a few doubters, quite a few people that said, no, you should just keep working in the legal field. It's secure, it's safe. And to be honest with you, bro, that's not really what I'm after in this life. And that's not what a lot of entrepreneurs is after. We're not looking for safety. We're looking to build something. We're looking to do great things. And in order to do that, you have to get outside of your comfort zone.
Okay. Excellent. No, very well said. You're absolutely right. That's what entrepreneurship is about. Presently, you are in 10 different locations across 8 different states. Mm-hmm. What were some of the strategies to scale the business?
I mean, number one was the vision of the company. So we knew back before we had our first revenue, before we opened our doors, that we really wanted to scale it. So I didn't quit my legal job, start a pest control company to just create a job for myself where I'm in the office or I'm out spraying houses. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that just wasn't my vision. So in the early days, we knew we were going to scale the company. We knew that we were going to want to grow very quickly. And so we focused on marketing, and we put a lot of emphasis, and we put a lot of our investment dollars into the marketing. To be honest, our very first group of employees, they were actually contractors, but they were door-to-door sales people. So before we had a technician, before we had a pest control license in the state of Michigan, we had a handful of people that were going to market and sell our services. So in order to scale, you really have to have that perspective, and you have to double down on marketing and sales. And it's not that it's more important than the operational aspects of the business. It's just that you want to make sure that, especially for an early company, that you have a plan to revenue. Because as much as entrepreneurs and business owners, as much as we like to think, hey, people are just going to want to do business with me because I'm incredible, or my product is incredible, or my service is incredible, it's just not the case. There are so many competitors out there. There's so much competition, and business is such a noisy space that people aren't just going to be begging to do business with you like a lot of us think sometimes. We think we're special. And I think we need that. We need to think we're special, but we really have to go out there and prove that we are. And we have to be very deliberate about the marketing and sales process. And from the very beginning, that was that was something that we put a lot of initiative and a lot of focus into. And it was just mostly because it matched with the goals and the vision that we had for the company. And we backed up those goals and vision and that vision with our effort and investing into these long-term marketing and sales strategies.
Got it. Okay, perfect. So obviously, you have done really well with that. What I understand, the revenue is north of 8 figures right now. You employ 300 plus people. From a leadership perspective, what are some of the attributes you think that a good leader needs to have?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, and something that's near and dear to my heart, because first and foremost, I look at myself as a leader, and entrepreneurs are leaders. People that start businesses are leaders, and there's so much that goes into that. I think one of the greatest attributes of a leader is humility, which isn't going to top the list for a lot of people. But a leader that has some humility is able to realize that they're only as good as the people that they surround themselves with. And that when they surround themselves with other people that bring different experiences and backgrounds and talents and skills, that makes the team and therefore the leader better. So number one, I would say humility. Number two, I would probably say a leader has to have this element of toughness. A lot of times we look at leaders and we think their life is easy, they get paid more, they don't work like we do. And those things are just not true in a lot of cases, maybe not all cases, but the leader is the one that works when nobody's looking. The leader is the one that ultimately has, the authority or the responsibility to make things right. And it's a pretty heavy burden to carry. A leader has to be able to, take this on with motivation. So I think a third element would be positivity and gratitude for just being in a position where they can influence others. And then the fourth thing I'd probably say is service, this attitude of, which I think goes back to humility a little bit, but this attitude of, I'm not I'm not here to expect others to serve me. I'm here to serve them. I'm here to help them achieve their goals. And Zig Ziglar said something like, the quickest way for me to get what I want, or you to get what you want, is for you to help others get what they want. And if a leader has that attitude, they're going to be successful because they're going to be helping their people succeed and achieve their goals. And in turn, those folks are going to help the leader grow and develop and scale their company.
Very nicely said indeed. So, in terms of this particular business, what would you say you're most proud of?
I mean, in terms of Proof Pest Control, there's so much, man. Proof was my first non-real estate business. I own a couple of dozen companies now. I've founded a bunch, but Proof was first. And because it was first, there's things that I've learned that have helped me in other areas of my life, including investments and angel investing and other financial matters in my life, including, my relationships with others, which are what is most important in my life. But, I think one of the things that makes me the proudest is from the beginning, there's two things that come to mind. One, from the beginning, there was this idea that we wanted to create Proof to help other people live better. And if you go to proofpest.com, that's our tagline or slogan right at the top. It says, live pest free, live better. And that was the idea, is that we could help take care of something that people don't even want to think about. So I'm very proud of that. And we have a nonprofit organization that's called Proof Gives Back, where we donate thousands of hours and financial resources every year to underprivileged and people that are, going through a tough time. So I'm very proud of this idea that Proof was created to be a service organization. The second thing I'm most proud of is when I look at Proof and what it is today, there's so much that is a reflection of the people that work at Proof. It's not just the owner's company anymore. Now you'll look at different programs, you'll look at different designs, marketing strategies, how we do the service, what our trucks look like, what equipment we use, how we hire, how we train, all of these things. And the more time goes by, I see less and less of what I initially helped to create. And I see more and more of what my employees and my vendors and my partners and what others have been able to add to the company to put their own stamp on it and make it theirs.
Awesome. Very nicely said. And I particularly like the part about the give back component. And I think that is so important for businesses to recognize. Perfect. So we're going to be shifting gears a little bit. And you have also mentioned this, that you've got investments in dozens of other companies. You founded so many. What makes you that much interested in starting businesses and especially in startups, which is typically the most high risk of ventures?
I touched on it just a little bit before when we were talking about the early days of Proof, but there's a couple of things. Nothing in my life, professionally speaking, has allowed me to improve and progress more than starting a business. If you want to learn how to do something, if you want to learn how to lead people, if you want to learn how to manage money, if you want to learn how to create something, if you want to learn how to market, if you want to learn how to sell, if you want to learn any of those things, the quickest and the fastest and the best way to do it is to start a company. So, but most of that progress, and we don't necessarily like talking about this, but most of that progress comes in the very, very early stages of a startup. It comes from the beginning, because once you're up and rolling, like we are with Proof now, you still progress and you still learn, but not at the same pace as you would, or as I did in the early days. And once I got proof to a place where we're like, okay, this company's probably going to make it. We're not going to go bankrupt, which, there were in the early days, that was my thought every single day. It's like, okay, well, it was a good try. We're not going to make it. Next day, good try, not going to make it. And then eventually we got to this point where like, okay, we have a few bucks in the bank. We're financially stable. We have a proven concept. We have a large customer base. And I got to the point where I was like, what's next? Because I yearned for those early days when I was really outside of my comfort zone. I didn't know if we were going to make it. I didn't know what was around the corner. And my progress, there was a hockey stick growth with my personal progress and the things that I was learning. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm really after. Because I look at my profession, I look at the financial resources I've been able to put together. And if I'm confident that if something happened that took everything away because of what's in my brain and my heart, I could do it again. And that comes from this confidence that I've been able to accumulate and build from going through the startup process over and over and just focusing on personal development and that early stage growth process.
Awesome. Is there a particular sector that you focus on when starting a business?
I mean, I have businesses in home services. We mentioned Pest Control. I own a software company. I own a digital marketing agency. I do business coaching. I'm a lawyer, as I mentioned. I own a law firm, fairly large real estate portfolio. So those are kind of my main focuses: marketing, SaaS, home services, real estate, investing. I'm really big into different types of monetary investing in the stock market and cryptocurrency, angel investing. So those are kind of my bread and butter, what I focus on. But each year I get new experiences with other types of industries. And I think it's really cool because with business, you can put together some skills that translate into different industries. So when I get involved in a new industry, it's this mix of, okay, I'm going to bring some skills, some knowledge, some experience that will help me, but I'm also going to have all these other things to learn. I have to learn about the industry. I have to learn about how to acquire customers and the specifics of providing the service or producing the product. But it's cool because I'm not starting it at square one anymore. Like I mentioned before, I'm confident that I could do it again if everything was taken from me. And so while those are the industries that I currently am focused on, each year I add new industries and take on new projects.
That's awesome. Very diverse portfolio indeed. One of the things you mentioned was about angel investing. And I wanted to basically ask a few things about that. Mm-hmm. So there are thousands of companies which are formed. A lot of these companies are looking for investors. What do you think are some of the things that these companies can do better in general?
So if somebody's looking for money, there's a few things. And actually, I have a couple of podcasts. One of my podcasts is called the Business Growth Pod. And I don't know what episode it is, but about 6 or 8 months ago, I recorded a solo episode where I answer this question. What are investors looking for in somebody that is trying to raise money? What are those elements? And so I'll definitely hit on a couple of those. Number one is, for me, and I don't know if this is like institutionally, but personally for me, I'm looking for a really talented entrepreneur or founder. I'm looking for somebody that, and specifically, I'm looking for somebody that has some high level of tenacity. Because business is so hard, I need somebody that, and I care more about them having this tenacity, being tenacious, than I care about their skill set. I consider that part of their skill set. but the founder needs to be able to get through all the difficult stuff, because business is difficult. Every single day is difficult, especially in those early days. So I need somebody that each day, no matter how difficult the previous day was, that each day they wake up and they say, all right, let's start over. Let's attack the day with this new information, with these new experiences. And they do that no matter what happens. Number two, they don't necessarily, I'm not a huge fan of business plans, but I am a huge fan of having a vision and goals for the company and the trajectory. I need somebody that comes to me and they, say, hey, I have an idea to, invent this widget. And they have some plan about, one, the elements that are going to be required to invent it, and then two, how they're going to take it to market. And three, it's really nice if they have a pro forma. It doesn't even have to be that formal for me, but something that shows the financial viability of the idea and how I'm going to get a return on my investment.
Excellent. Those are some very key points, as you've mentioned. And also, that particular podcast episode will be linked in the description for anyone who wants to check it out. And I'm sure you've gone into a lot of more in-depth information can be attained from there. Okay, perfect. So, Allan, one of the final things I wanted to know from yourself is that, again, about entrepreneurs, people who are looking to start businesses, or people who have started businesses and sort of is in that stage where they're finding it very difficult to scale up. They've tried a whole bunch of things. Financial resources are limited, and so they feel they are stuck, right? So in that case, what kind of mindset or what kind of process should they follow in order to take it forward?
I mean, I think there's two things that come into play. One is they have to, if they're really struggling with top line revenue, with sales, they have to come to terms with and create a plan that will actually work. And they don't need to be the only one. Everybody has competitors, but they need to find out, identify, and market what makes them different. Is it the price? Is it the service level? Is it the technology they have? What is it? So step one, create a list of the, top 5 competitors. Step 2, identify what, those top competitors are doing well. Step 3, identify what you could do differently. And here's the kicker. What you could do differently that is going to make a difference to the consumer. If you were saying, oh, I'm going to undercut the price, but it's in one of those niche markets where the price doesn't matter to the consumer, maybe it's a government contract, or there's something that's regulated, then that doesn't make a difference. Then that's not going to do anything for your top line revenue. So 1, identify your competitors. 2, understand what those top competitors are doing well. 3, identify your specific niche, how you're going to separate yourself from your competitors. And that's kind of goes into the planning phase of the marketing and sales. But then this other aspect is, it's, the question it seems like came with this idea that you have limited financial resources. Marketing is financially heavy. It really is. It's financially dependent. If you are on a shoestring budget, your only other option is just time. You're not going to be able to scale immediately. If you don't have financial resources, you're going to have to play a longer game, or you're going to have to go find money. And there's 3 ways to get money. You can save it, you can borrow it, or you can sell equity for it. That's it. And so if you're an entrepreneur, you can either increase that top line revenue with hustle, or with financial resources, or a combination of those two. But that's really it. And if you have hustle, the companies that scale quickly, they hustle and they have financial resources, or they double down and they invest everything in form of retained earnings back into the company in the form of marketing and sales. But if you're not hustling, you're on a shoestring budget, you're not going to scale. I don't care what your product or service is.
Excellent. That's very well said. Lot of takeaways there. Allan, thank you so much for your time today. You have added so much value. All your links will be in the description below. So if anyone wants to check out, please do so. And again, Allan, thank you so much for your time, and I wish you all the best.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.